And we're live. I'm Joe.
Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time zone you're in. Welcome back to Sip and Talk. I'm Sunny. Welcome, Sip and Talkers.
Grab your coffee, everyone, because today's discussion is a really fascinating one. We're getting into the deep psychology of how people argue online.
We really are. And I have to tell you, I recently stumbled onto this phenomenon on the internet that is, honestly, it's more mysterious than the Bermuda Triangle.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What kind of phenomenon has our resident tech observer so spooked today?
It is the absolute black hole of 21st century human communication. It's the experience of trying to reason with ultra-nationalist online commenters. In internet culture, they're often called little pinks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a whole other world.
It totally is. I was reading a discussion the other day about the global semiconductor supply chain, right? Specifically around the CHIPS Act.
Okay, pretty standard tech forum stuff.
Exactly. And someone posted hard, objective data like multinational market share, lithography, machine production, patented technologies, verifiable numbers about who owns what in the tech stack.
Right. So you bring the data and then you debate based on the numbers in front of you. That's how it works.
That's what you'd expect. But a commenter immediately replied with, and I quote, "Your data is entirely fabricated by Western media, and even if we are behind right now, it's just playing a big game of chess and we'll overtake them eventually."
Oh, man. I can picture it.
I was literally holding my coffee cup, just shaking it in disbelief. Hear that ice clinking? That was me.
That's hilarious.
It wasn't a simple difference of opinion. I was presenting A and they were talking about Z. It felt like we were existing in completely different cognitive universes.
Yeah, you were basically just like banging your logic against a brick wall.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because you think you're engaging in a standard academic debate.
Right, but you're not.
No, you're interacting with a highly closed-loop mental network. Like sociologists point out that they aren't using scientific, falsifiable logic. They're operating on a specific cognitive framework.
Yeah, what scholars call a vulgarized dialectic.
Exactly, where literally everything is a unity of opposites.
Yes, and they have these three magic weapons of communication that they just deploy like clockwork.
Oh, I know these. Hit me with them.
So first is whataboutism. Like, if you point out that issue A is handled poorly, they instantly deflect. They'll say, well, look at Trump. What he did with B was awful, too.
Right. Totally changing the subject.
Exactly. And second is motive guessing. The moment you disagree with their premise, they don't attack your argument. They attack your character. They accuse you of taking foreign money.
Classic ad hominem.
Yep. And the third is the macro narrative, like individual rights or local granular failures. They simply don't matter to them because the grand rise of the great power is the only thing that counts.
Wow. It just vaporizes rational facts instantly.
It really does.
Which is exactly why today we're going to completely dismantle this defense mechanism. We want to explore how this cognitive brand gets stamped onto people's brains and why bringing standard fact-checking to these echo chambers completely fails.
We really need to understand the architecture of this thinking. Because, it doesn't happen by accident.
No, it definitely doesn't.
It begins by deliberately abandoning formal, traditional logic for an alternative rhetorical framework, one that's based on dialectics.
Let's unpack the logic side first, just so we have a baseline.
Sure.
Formal logic, specifically Aristotelian logic, is entirely built on the law of identity.
Yeah.
So A equals A.
Right.
Right is right, wrong is wrong, a loss is a loss. It's incredibly precise. If you think about it in software terms, formal logic is like strict if-else code.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Yeah, if the condition is met, execute. If not, fail.
It's totally binary. It's a cold, precise scalpel that cuts right to the verifiable truth.
Right. Well, wait, let me push back or at least play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because I took philosophy in college. And when we study dialectics like Socrates or Hegel, or even standard Marxist theory, it wasn't about ignoring facts.
No, it wasn't.
It was about finding truth through dialogue, right?
Right.
Thesis meets antithesis and you get a synthesis. So how does that historical concept turn into a tool for ignoring hard data like, semiconductor market shares?
That is a fantastic question. And honestly, it's the crux of the issue. The philosophical dialectics you learned in college is about the evolution of thought.
Okay.
But the specific vulgarized version taught in certain educational systems for narrative control, it's fundamentally different.
How so?
It becomes the ultimate rubber band thinking. Instead of resolving contradictions, it actively allows contradictions to coexist indefinitely, just to justify anything.
I'm going to need a visual for that.
Okay, so if logic is that rigid if-else code you mentioned, this framework is like a machine learning algorithm that constantly shifts its weights based on whatever the desired output is.
Right.
Or, to use an analogy from the analysis we're looking at today, if formal logic is a surgical scalpel used to dissect reality, this brand of dialectics is a makeup brush.
A makeup brush.
Yeah, it's used to paint over ugly reality.
Oh, that perfectly captures it. You aren't fixing the underlying flaw, you're just brushing a little philosophical foundation over the data you don't want people to see.
Let me apply it to a relatable workplace scenario to show how absurd it is in practice.
Please do.
Imagine I'm an hour late to a critical team meeting. Formal logic dictates that my lateness is unprofessional. A equals A. The clock says I'm late.
Right, you're late.
But if I use this twisted dialectic, I could just stroll into the conference room and say, well, time is relative, and my lateness actually sparked a dynamic reassessment of our team's core values and patience, which is a higher-level synthesis for our company culture.
I mean, if you actually did that, you would be immediately fired.
Exactly. I'd be packing up my desk into a cardboard box by noon.
The key takeaway here is that dialectics, even in its purest form, is not meant to be a substitute for basic logic. It's supposed to be an advanced step.
Right.
If formal logic is basic algebra, dialectics is calculus. You cannot just skip algebra because you don't like the answers it gives you, jump straight to calculus, and expect to solve the equation.
No, you really can't.
If you do, you aren't engaging in dynamic thinking. Critics argue you're just producing an alternative reality that entirely bypasses objective truth.
So that raises a massive question, Joe. If this thinking is so flawed in a practical setting, why is it so heavily promoted?
That's the million-dollar question.
Why is this specific framework taught from grade school all the way through university in certain systems?
Well, because it is the absolute perfect tool for governance and narrative control. Like, let's look at the ultimate output of this mindset, which is the concept that losing is actually winning.
Oh, the mental gymnastics on this are wild.
Right. Think about how it plays out in real life. A massive diplomatic or military loss. It gets immediately reframed as a strategic retreat or moving forward in twists and turns.
Yeah, or a devastating economic downturn with factories closing. That's not a failure. That's just a necessary period of adjustment for future greatness.
Exactly. What you're describing is the complete cancellation of falsifiability.
Yes.
Look at it from an institutional level. Logic is actually very dangerous to absolute authority because logic demands verifiable data. It demands clear definitions.
And consistency across the board. If the data is bad, the leadership looks bad.
It's a massive liability.
Exactly. Dialectics, on the other hand, demands that you look at the big picture. It allows the entire system to be completely unfalsifiable.
Because you can just pivot the narrative.
Right. If a policy works perfectly, the leadership is brilliant. If the policy fails completely and causes massive societal harm, it wasn't a failure. It was a valuable exploration or a necessary cost on the road to utopia.
The leadership is never, ever wrong. Wait, let me make sure I'm grasping the scale of this. Are you saying it's basically institutional gaslighting?
Pretty much.
Like you lose your job, you can't pay your rent, and the system just changes the definition of unemployment and calls it flexible employment.
That is exactly the mechanism. It reduces all individual suffering and real-world problems to a mere tributary.
Ah, I see.
The grand, abstract success of the state remains the mainstream river. They separate the concrete failure from the abstract victory, and suddenly, A doesn't equal A anymore.
Wow.
You can have skyrocketing youth unemployment, but because the macro narrative is moving toward a glorious, undefined future, the current pain of millions of people is just a minor footnote.
It's a localized anomaly in a globally perfect plan.
Exactly.
You know, this actually perfectly explains a really counterintuitive phenomenon that always used to baffle me.
What's that?
You see people with PhDs, like highly educated scholars, who become the absolute biggest defenders of obvious catastrophic system failures.
It is wild, isn't it?
I always wondered how someone with a doctorate in economics could look at a collapsing housing market and say, this is actually a triumph.
You would think the most educated minds, the people trained in data analysis, would be the first to call out the discrepancies. So why do scholars love the makeup brush so much?
Because in this specific sociological ecosystem, the research conclusions are predetermined before the study even begins.
Ah, the fix is in.
Totally. If an intellectual uses the logic scalpel to look at the economic data anchors the definitions, and points out a catastrophic failure, what happens? They get fired.
Their funding disappears. They might even face legal trouble.
Their very survival is threatened.
Yep.
But if they use the dialectic makeup brush to paint that very same failure as a necessary step in a spiral progression toward a new economic paradigm, they get massive funding.
Government grants, academic promotions.
It's not just brainwashing, it's an intellectual survival mechanism.
And to survive, they build what sociologists call a 3-layer defense matrix.
Okay, I like the sound of this matrix.
It's a cognitive shield designed to deflect any and all criticism, and it is entirely impenetrable once you accept its premises. Let's break these shields down, because once you see them, you will notice them everywhere online.
Let's do it.
Shield number 1 is fact versus stance.
Okay.
You bring them hard, undeniable data. Let's go back to the semiconductor supply chain. You show them the actual import and export numbers.
Right, the real-world data.
Their shield goes up and they say, your data might be completely real, but your stance is hostile to our nation, therefore your entire point is invalid.
Which is a classic logical fallacy.
Yeah.
They are attacking the messenger to invalidate the message.
Exactly.
But it works perfectly to shut down the debate, because now you have to defend your intentions rather than discuss the data.
Spot on. Shield number 2 is part versus whole.
How does that one work?
So you point out widespread local suffering, like an entire manufacturing district going bankrupt. Their response is that suffering is just a local temporary issue. You're focusing on the negative part, but the overall macro trend of the whole nation is amazing.
Wow. It just sweeps reality right under the rug.
Totally. And shield number 3 is present versus future.
Let me guess. Current pain for future gain.
You got it. Any current disaster, you point out a collapsing bridge, a failed infrastructure project is quickly reframed as a necessary sacrifice for a future utopia. Yes, we are struggling present day, but 100 years from now, history will view this as the turning point.
You know, the psychological result of this matrix is so incredibly dark.
It really is.
When you really think about it, it gives these intellectuals a cold, incredibly arrogant sense of superiority. They literally view caring about individual human suffering as short-sighted.
Wow. Yeah, that's a chilling way to put it.
Like, if you care about a family-owned business going bankrupt today or a local community losing its water supply, you just lack their grand historical vision. Their intellect is basically weaponized to wash away reality.
It's a total empathy killer. But here is where the rubber meets the road and where the geopolitics get really interesting. This closed-loop system, this echo chamber of logic holes, works flawlessly at home where you completely control the narrative, the media, and the education system.
Sure.
But what happens when this cognitive framework hits the global stage?
Oh, I'm guessing it's a total unmitigated disaster.
Completely. Because international business, global diplomacy, and international trade, they do not run on makeup brushes.
No, they don't.
They run strictly on formal logic and the spirit of the contract. A contract fundamentally means A equals A.
Let's explore that, because that is literally the foundation of the modern world.
Yes, it is.
If you and I sign a joint venture agreement to build a factory, we agree on specific terms. We agree on intellectual property rights, we agree on profit sharing, and we agree on timelines.
And if you violate those terms, there is a penalty.
Exactly. There's a shared objective understanding of reality and predictability.
Right. So when an entity tries to use this dialectics internationally, like when they sign an international trade agreement and then 5 years later say the contract needs to be viewed dynamically because historical conditions have changed.
Oh, man.
Or they say that an economic treaty was just a historical document that no longer holds practical meaning. The rest of the world does not see high-level philosophical wisdom.
Not at all. They don't sit across the negotiating table and think, wow, what a nuanced dialectical approach to global trade. I am so enlightened.
They see a total lack of integrity.
Right.
They see someone constantly moving the goalposts, playing semantic word games to get out of legal commitments, and actively breaking the rules while demanding that everyone else follow them strictly.
Which leads directly to one of the biggest buzzwords in geopolitics today.
Yes.
De-risking.
Yes.
De-risking. For a while, I honestly didn't fully understand what de-risking actually meant in practice. But looking at it through this psychological lens, it makes perfect sense.
It does.
The rest of the world's response to this behavior isn't to sit down and debate philosophy with them. You can't win an argument against a makeup brush.
No, you absolutely can't.
So the world's response is just to start playing the game entirely. This rubber band thinking absolutely destroys international trust. It leads to massive systemic trust deficits.
You see it everywhere.
You see it in the severe pushback against technology transfers. You see it in the deep suspicion around massive global infrastructure projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. And you see it in the rapid fragmentation of global supply chains.
Exactly. The international community just looks at the situation and decides that the cost of doing business with someone who changes the definition of reality whenever it suits them, it's simply too high.
You can't build a 20-year supply chain on a foundation of dynamic truths.
No, you can't. It's the ultimate boomerang effect.
How so?
Well, the exact rhetorical tool that makes them invincible in their own domestic comment sections makes them completely untrustworthy in an international boardroom. It isolates them.
Wow. That's a huge point.
Okay, so since we all live in a world where these types of arguments are bleeding onto our timelines every single day.
Oh yeah, not just in geopolitics, but domestic politics, corporate PR, everywhere.
Exactly. How do we protect our own brains?
We need a fact-checking survival toolkit.
We do.
If you're listening to this and you feel overwhelmed by the spin, there is a brilliant 4-step checklist to quickly spot the difference between genuine, high-level analysis and this kind of evasive sophistry.
Let's bounce through them.
Rule number 1, anchor the definition. Do not let them change what A means mid-argument.
So let's apply this to the semiconductor example from the intro.
Okay.
If you bring up hard numbers about lithography machines and they suddenly start talking about spiritual resilience or the inevitability of history, stop them.
Bring it back to the machines.
Exactly. Hold their feet to the fire. Don't let them zoom out to a 500-year historical arc to avoid answering a question about current market share. A equals A.
That is powerful. Rule number 2, check the relevance. This is the ultimate whataboutism killer.
Right. If you criticize policy A, and their immediate reflex is to bring up counterexample B from another country 50 years ago, pause the conversation.
And ask yourself what?
Ask yourself, does this counterexample actually solve the problem we are discussing? Or does it just try to prove that everyone is awful, so our failure doesn't matter?
Oh, that's good.
If we are talking about a failed tech policy today, pointing out a flaw in a foreign system from a decade ago doesn't fix our code.
It just muddies the water. Rule number 3, action versus excuse. Look at the end point of their argument.
Ask yourself where their logic leads.
Does their line of thinking lead to a concrete solution, an admission of fault, or a course correction?
Right. Or is it just a massive philosophical justification for doing absolutely nothing and maintaining the status quo?
Genuine critical thinking synthesizes a solution. Sophistry just makes highly educated excuses.
And finally, rule number 4, symmetry of data. Can they handle opposing facts?
This is the ultimate litmus test. Can the person you are arguing with integrate negative data into their worldview without immediately crying conspiracy or foreign interference?
If their entire worldview requires an unfalsifiable, invisible global conspiracy to explain away any bad data, you are dealing with a makeup brush, not a scalpel.
Keep your logic scalpel sharp, everyone.
Yeah.
Demand consistency. Because the moment you let someone replace your scalpel with a makeup brush, you have already lost the argument.
You're playing on a board where they can change the rules at any time.
And your facts will never matter.
Let's bring things back down to earth for a minute, because we have covered a lot of heavy philosophical ground today.
Absolutely. And I want to make something incredibly clear. Saying all of this, looking at the architecture of these arguments, at the end of the day, we are talking about cognitive frameworks.
Right.
Today's chat wasn't about mocking or discriminating against any specific country, group, or people.
Not at all. We are simply reporting on the rhetorical strategies observed in these interactions. We live in a highly fragmented information era.
We really do.
It is torn apart by algorithms that profit off our outrage, and anyone, literally anyone, no matter where you live or what your political background is, can fall into an echo chamber.
I completely agree. Sitting here in the Sip&Talk studio, peeling back the layers of cold data, history, and logic. It isn't about deciding who is right and who is wrong.
We aren't judges here.
No. It's about opening a window and laying out objective facts. Our goal is always to encourage independent thinking. We want to help you see the real international landscape amidst all these geopolitical storms, rather than being kidnapped by emotions or grand slogans.
Staying awake is the most luxurious and precious ability of our era. It takes work, but it is worth it.
It really is. And we would love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, or tell us your own logic, car crash stories in the comments, or shoot us an email. Have you run into the makeup brush in your own life?
Have you found yourself using it?
Exactly.
Your coffee is probably still warm in your hands, and our next journey of critical thinking is always ready to depart. Don't forget to subscribe to Sip and Talk, and we want to give a huge shout out to our good friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yeah, check him out.
He has a brand new travel vlog up, so definitely go check that out and support his work. Let us know what you want to hear next. See you next time. Bye-bye.